Thunder! ThunderCats!
When we talk about legendary cartoons from yesteryear, it would be a crime to forget ThunderCats, who created a whole new fantasy universe back in 1985, focusing on the lives of animal-human hybrids hailing from the planet of Thundera. The show revolved around their adventures as they made their way to Third Earth in an attempt to escape mutant monsters. Over the past few decades, ThunderCats has garnered quite a fan following, and the show has some striking elements such as the Eye of Thundera, legendary enemies such as Mumra, and equipment such as the Sword of Omens. Any upcoming media inspired by the franchise must have these classic elements to do justice to the cartoon, and there have been talks of a forthcoming ThunderCats movie directed by Adam Wingard. Today, we shall explore the top 10 must-haves that must be incorporated into the adaptation. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The Sword of Omens. To kick off this list, we have the Sword of Omens, the iconic sword that has helped the ThunderCats defeat innumerable adversaries. This sword was nothing short of a marvel in itself, and it typically appeared in the form of a dagger that could be extended or retracted in the face of danger. The Sword of Omens was known to be virtually indestructible, and it could slice through materials such as steel or stone, as if it were slicing through a block of smooth butter. It had barely taken any damage, even after Lionos used it to deal with nearly every opponent, and it had been passed down several generations of Thunderian rulers before finally landing in his possession. Lionos could summon this sword by saying, "Sword of Omens, come to my hand," and this mighty weapon would find a way to reach its owner in a moment. Now that we have established the usefulness of this sword, one does wonder how it has all these special abilities. As it turns out, the sword was powered by the Eye of Thundera, a ruby red stone that contained a sentient energy force. Through channeling this energy, the sword allowed its user to see anything in the universe, create powerful energy blasts, and even break any magical curse placed upon its user. In one specific scenario, this sword managed to channel the energy force of the entire planet of New Thundera to save it from destruction. Given its history, the Sword of Omen rightfully deserves a spot in any ThunderCat media, and we hope it appears in all its glory with a gleaming blue Excalibur body and the red Thundera eye in its hilt.
Thunder! Thunder! ThunderCats!
Lionos Leadership. While we have explored Lionos' iconic sword, we now divert our attention to the ThunderCats' supreme leader, Lionos himself. During the course of his story arc, Lionos may have started out as a young and inexperienced 12-year-old, but he grew immensely over time and inspired his team with his courage and determination. He was the youngest member of the ThunderCats royal family when they embarked on their journey to Third Earth. However, the journey aged him about 12 years due to some malfunction in his hibernation chamber, and his body matured during this time while he still had the mind of a young preteen. Now that he had grown up, Lionos assumed that he had to step up for the rest of the team, but there were many instances where his childish tendencies overshadowed his maturity. However, he showed significant growth over time and would step up to defend his friends and allies with strength and wit. He bravely led the ThunderCats through any and all conflicts, and he would also wisely avoid conflict and solve issues diplomatically as much as possible. Any future ThunderCats movie must capture Lionos' essence and portray him as the young, naive club that grew into a wise and powerful leader. The ThunderCats Lair. Soon after the ThunderCats landed on Third Earth, they decided to set up their base in the shape of a cat, designed by Tigra and constructed with some help from the Burbles. The ThunderCats Lair was a safe haven for them, and it had a number of rooms and a wise assortment of weaponry and defense mechanisms. The ThunderCats often exclaimed that the lair was just like their home on Thundera, and its most striking feature was a huge cat's head that was fitted on the topmost section of the 165 feet tall house. The cat's head also served as a lookout spot, and it had special telescopic scanners and powerful laser beams that could be used to attack any opponent from afar. Besides this, the lair had several laser cannons, an electronic drawbridge, and a takeoff ramp for the ThunderCats vehicles. It also included a specialized hangar, training room, laboratory, and conference room in addition to bedrooms for each ThunderCat. And the entire place was nothing short of a modern, technologically advanced headquarters. Its architecture was a mixture of Egyptian and Art Deco designs, and the upcoming movie adaptation must necessarily recreate this iconic lair in all its glory.
Form into Mumra, the Everliving
Mumra, the Everliving Mumra. the Everliving is nothing less than a legend, and this antagonist truly needs no introduction. Appearing in the form of a skeleton, Mumra had truly made life on Third Earth quite difficult for the ThunderCats. He was determined to steal the Eye of Thundera and then use it for his gain, and somewhere along the way, he also dreamed of defeating the ThunderCats and establishing himself as the sole ruling power on Third Earth. Mumra could be best described as a sorcerer and a demon priest who typically resided within the Black Pyramid in the form of a withered corpse. However, Mumra could rise to power and gain a muscular body with some help from evil spirits by merely summoning them with a chant that goes something like, "Ancient spirits of evil, transform this decayed form to Mumra, the Everliving." In no time, this decaying corpse could jump into action and stir up trouble for the ThunderCats. But it did not take long for our titular heroes to defeat him and send him back to his sarcophagus. Despite his unstable living status, Mumra was a sadistic being who was also up to some evil mischief. He was a remorseless character who was completely determined to get rid of the ThunderCats so that he could finally assume control over Third Earth. He also had a booming voice, and this terrifying character deserves a striking portrayal in this upcoming movie adaptation.
Why have you summoned us this time, Mumra?
I wish to teach you.
The Mutants. To assist Mumra in his evil schemes, he had an army of misfits known as the Mutants. Mumra managed to recruit the Mutants soon after arriving on Third Earth, where he displayed his power and buried the Mutant mothership in a striking display of power. The Mutants were quite impressed and agreed to work with him to defeat the ThunderCats, ranging from the hulking Slythe to the witty Mongor. The Mutants were extremely powerful beings who terrorized the residents of Third Earth and wreaked havoc all over the planet, while Slythe led the Mutants. Their team was made up of formidable characters such as Jackalman, Monkeyan, Vultureman, Raytar-O, and Ratilla. Sometimes they even acted independently and disobeyed Mumra, and these iconic characters certainly deserve an appearance or two in the upcoming movie adaptation.
It's finished, Johnny.
Thundera. At this point in the list, Thundera needs no introduction as the home planet of the Thunderians. Before it was destroyed, Thundera was a safe haven for the cats, and they could live in peace without worrying about defending themselves from attacks. The planet had about 12 seas and multiple moons, and it was also home to some dangerous giant spiders, among other terrifying species. Eventually, the planet was destroyed when the Sword of Plundar was cast into the planet's core, which led to several mass eruptions and the complete destruction of Thundera. However, the place lives on in the hearts of the ThunderCats, who often share memories of their home planet and paint a pretty picture of it. Given its importance in the ThunderCats story arc, the movie must incorporate some flashbacks to the technologically advanced world of Thundera in its prime and even in its destruction.
Give me sight beyond sight.
The Eye of Thundera, appearing in the form of a sentient red gem with a cat eye image on it. The Eye of Thundera was the mystical gem that was fitted onto the Sword of Omens. The Eye of Thundera was the main source of the ThunderCats' power, and it also held all the recorded history of the planet Thundera and its residents. According to Tigra, the Eye was fabricated from myths and legends, and it had then projected itself into the world in order to protect New Thundera from evil forces. It appeared in the form of a big cat and ensured that balance was maintained on the planet. In another origin story explored in the Wildstorm comics, the Eye was forged by Tigress as a gift for Lord Kugartha, who then suggested that it should be fitted onto the sword's hilt for extra protection. Given its history, the Eye of Thundera inarguably deserves a place in the movie adaptation, where it could appear as a device that tells the story of the people of Thundera.
Your Sword of Omens!
The music. Even as we bring up the music, we're sure most of you can hear the faint hum of the ThunderCats intro soundtrack play in the back of your minds. The show's action and adventure were accompanied by an excellent background score, and Bernard Hoffer did a spectacular job with the music on the original ThunderCats series. As we gear up for the movie adaptation, we have our fingers crossed for a theme song that captures the show's spirit and makes us reminisce about the original score. However, the theme song could do with a modern twist, and we can't wait to see what the movie's creators come up with on this musical front.
Formation will begin.
The humor. One of the main reasons behind ThunderCats' popularity was the show's humor, which kept the audiences entertained even if most of the plot revolved around action and adventure. With Adam Wingard set to direct and co-write the movie, we can surely keep our expectations high for the film to pack a powerful punch with a dash of comedy. The ThunderCats are a bunch of silly hybrids with a good sense of humor, and hopefully this will translate onto the big screen.
Without the enchanted helmet.
The legacy. ThunderCats has created quite a legacy for itself, not just as a cartoon show, but as a pop culture phenomenon. The show's popularity has also remained quite high, with spin-offs and live-action releases happening every other year. Given its legacy, it is imperative that the movie honors its popularity and pay tribute to the original ThunderCats and all the elements that make up this franchise. It should also garner the attention of an entire new generation, so the ThunderCats legacy continues. With Adam Wingard on the wheel, we don't have to worry too much about this, as he has revealed himself to be a huge fan of the series. In fact, Wingard revealed that he once wrote a 270-page script for the show as a kid, and he seems truly passionate about this project. Marvelous verdict. And on that note, we come to the end of our list of elements that we would love to see in a ThunderCats adaptation in the future. While this iconic cartoon has stayed in our hearts even decades after its release, it is time for a movie adaptation to jog our memories and even introduce this iconic piece of media to a new generation. Hopefully, this new release might come sooner than we expect, and we can keep our fingers crossed for it to include all these must-have elements and do justice to the original ThunderCats. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.